So are we ready for digital transformation is the question. And definitely we can see that when we did the study where we surveyed 7,200 students across the length and breadth of India, we covered all the states except Andaman and Nicobar Islands. We found out that even today, uh, people using the mobile hotspot Wi-Fi dongle are almost 80%. So people are still not having a fixed line internet service. Even after the major revolution we've had, BSNL is everywhere. We have home broadband available. Almost 80% of the respondents have or are using a mobile connectivity, either a mobile hotspot or a dongle. Just 15.87% of these respondents were using a home broadband. Now, that just goes to show the penetration of operators like Jio, and you can see in this graph here that in this table here that Jio has got a 38.12% penetration, followed by Airtel, Vodafone, BSNL, and any other broadband operator. So Jio has actually revolutionized the availability, the access to internet. But that's a good part, right? We do have access to the internet, but is it working for the students? Then when we looked at problems plaguing the system, now what happened is that we started looking at each of these areas, and for mobile hotspot, we had almost 96% of the respondents had issues with connectivity. Now that's a big number. Now that those issues can be a signal issue, it can be poor connectivity. So it could be signal disappearing, it could be not getting your LTE or a 4G network, which is required and really essential for having streaming video, for having streaming connectivity to do online learning. Home broadband, though, we see that definitely had the mix of signal and poor connectivity changes, but definitely it is lower. There are issues related to power connectivity, cable cuts as well in home broadband, but the number of users we surveyed were much smaller. When we looked at Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi dongle as well, it had the same thing. So there are issues plaguing this. And why is that? Why is that India, after having 391 million internet users, we still have this problem? It could be because of the cost of internet in India. This is an infographic published by Forbes and Statista, which shows that India has the cheapest cost of internet. Now, at 26 cents per 1 GB, that is the lowest amongst Russia, Italy, even Nigeria, Australia, France, Brazil, Spain. Now, when the cost is so low, perhaps there is overloading. Perhaps systems are overloaded, and that actually is displayed in the frustration of students. And this is the pain points what we have seen. And some of them clearly say that they can't hear the faculty members. They have issue of the data maxing out. The 2 GB is not enough. If you do a 2 hours session online doing your studies, it maxes out. BSNL perhaps doesn't have a low or free internet services for students. So there are several issues here, poor connectivity. So there are issues plaguing the system when we talk about the availability of the system. Accessibility definitely is there. So besides this point of accessibility of the internet, what is the way forward? I think right now we are at stage 1 where we're doing online classes in India, which is going pretty well. And I think I've seen that more capacity is being added by telecom providers, by ISP providers. So that's going well. The stage 2 would be 100% course delivery online, and that includes also assessment and grading. So we want to start looking at that and evaluating how it's going to happen in India and also abroad, and share best practices. And the final stage would be complete delivery of the course credit online, and that's your online degree basically. Is that set to happen? Maybe, because today California State University announced that 23 of its campuses, the whole system, will not open for physical classes even in the fall of this year. So it would go online, even when they open in September or so on. So definitely online education, e-learning is here to stay. Now, again, we can say that we are doing a few classes online. We do it through, we definitely have MHRD with having Swayam and so on. But the full works to moving it online would be a challenge at this time, considering the accessibility of the infrastructure what we have. So the concluding remarks I have here is that improving the information technology infrastructure in institutions. We recently have been doing a study with about 47 institutions, and tomorrow we'll announce the ones that completed the certification process, looking at not just having your Microsoft Teams or WhatsApp groups to deliver lectures, but also are you able to do one-to-one tutoring? Are you able to have on-demand recording available? Do you have a full-fledged backup available? Do you have correct software? Do you have power backup? What are the systems are you using for support to your students and faculty members? I know institutions, when they went online for the first time in mid-March, faculty members had no internet in their housing within the university campus. So there are challenges that how do you address that? So there are about 20 data points we collected, we're collecting data for, and we should be announcing it tomorrow. But definitely there's a need to improve the IT infrastructure within institutions. Addressing the power supply issues. Currently I'm stuck up in Goa, and you'll not believe every 1 hour or 2 hours there is a power cut. Now, if we are to rely on computers and there is no power backups available, how is the country going to address that in the long term would be something to look at. Also, enabling a shift in mindset towards online teaching and learning. Quite a few institutions I've spoken to are not yet ready to accept the fact that the COVID-19 is here to stay and we have to coexist with it. So no other pandemic before, at least in our generation here, had the need to maintain social distancing. And with that, definitely there's going to be a longer period where we will have this situation. So definitely an immediate change in mindset. Institutions collaborating. Now that's important, because when I looked, and I've done a couple of roundtables in the Arab region, in the Middle East, where they are also looking at medical education and how do you take medical education online, at least for the first few years of the first year or so. So there are expensive tools available. There are virtual reality tools available. Sharing of those tools in India within institutions could mean that they could bring the cost down as well as get global best practices. And that also means sharing best practices for online teaching and learning amongst institutions. Robust training of faculty and students on tools. I think that's required at this time. And perhaps revisiting the norms of validation and accreditation of online courses. I think UGC mandates that only 33% of the courses can be done online at the moment, but how do we start looking at online courses and validating them for the future? Perhaps private agencies come into play and support the government in this. That could be the way forward.